Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer, and welcome to Lost in the Wasteland, my weekly interview show where I have a guest and we get a better perspective on their perspective on film. And this week we have Heath back again for a second round, fellow SiftPop writer. Heath, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And this is the wonderful time of the show where I let my guest shamelessly plug whatever they would like to shamelessly plug. So go ahead, Heath.
I'm really only at one place these days that you can follow me, and that's on Letterboxd. You can follow me at the One Heath Bar. Again, that's the One Heath Bar on Letterboxd. I probably watch on average 10 to 15 movies a week. I review everything I watch. I do a ton of ranking lists and all that kind of stuff. So if that sounds fun, you can find me there.
Awesome. And if you are a fan of movies and haven't gotten a Letterboxd yet,
You should.
Go do it.
It's the best.
So I know I do mine a little bit differently. I only log the brand new release films that I watch, but I log crap everywhere. So
yeah,
check out all kinds of stuff. But so Heath, my first question for you this time around is, what is a previously released film that you haven't seen that you're most excited to check out at some point?
So I have an unconventional answer for this, which is I have no answer for this. I'm very weird when it comes to movies. I get super excited in anticipation of movies when they are going to come out. Like I look at the release schedule, I get excited. Do I want to see something opening night in non-pandemic land? Do I want the big crowd, that experience? Something like Spider-Man No Way Home. Do I want that fan reaction? That's the stuff I get excited about. Anything that's been out in the past that I missed and haven't gotten to see yet, I am very blasé about. I will get to it when I get to it, and I don't care. And I'll watch them in any order. It's not like, people are like, oh, move this to the top of your watch list. Make sure you see it soon. I'm like, yeah, I'll get around to it. I have 500 things on my watch list. I'll get there. It's whatever strikes me in the mood of that day. So to try to at least answer the question to some degree, I would say that I am excited to see the best pictures. So one of the things I've always wanted to do is finish my run. I'm trying to watch not just every film that's ever won Best Picture, but even every film that's ever been nominated for Best Picture. So we're talking not just the 90 some odd movies that have won, but we're talking hundreds of movies especially when you count recent years where sometimes up to 10 films can be nominated per year. That's what I like doing. That's one of my favorite things. And those I do look forward to. Spoiler for SiftPop, we're doing a best ever challenge this week about lore adapted from written novel coming to film. And one of the ones I have yet to see is The English Patient. So I chose that. So I'm excited this week to go see The English Patient. Not anticipating it in terms of, I really am excited to see the movie. I'm excited to knock out another Best Picture winner. I want to see why people liked it. Why did it win? What made it so special? So that's something I get excited about. So in a sense, I would just broadly say I get excited about Best Picture winners and nominees, but not in particular about a specific film. So kind of a half answer, but it's true.
Hey, it's your perspective on movies.
Yes.
And I'm still wondering why The English Patient won Best Picture.
I didn't want to lean into it too much, but based off of what I've heard, I'm not entirely excited to see it for that reason. But again, going back to what I said, I want to see why. I want to, maybe I'll see something that other people didn't see. Maybe I'll be with a consensus and be like, yeah, no, I don't understand how this won. But I'm excited to still take it in.
Because that beat Fargo, right? I remember.
I believe that was Fargo's year. I can double check it.
Coen Brothers fan over here just being like, but why? But anyway, so now that we talked a little bit about films of the past, and you mentioning how you do get excited for those films that are coming up, what's one upcoming film that you're most excited about?
So I would say that my most anticipated film, again, this is something I care about, and I made a whole list. Again, find me on Letterboxd. I have a 2022 my most anticipated list. My number one film by a country mile is Babylon, which is the new film by Damien Chazelle. I think Damien Chazelle is one of the best directors working right now. I've loved literally everything he's done, it's varying degrees of love. I think First Man is kind of my lowest of his major full-length feature pictures, but even still, I think First Man is incredible. But then once you account for La La Land and especially Whiplash, I'm like, yeah, no, this guy's he's got me. I'm hooked. I'm in. I'll see whatever he makes, and I'm really jazzed about Babylon. That is easily my most anticipated film. For those who don't know, it's supposed to come out this coming holiday season at the end of 2022. It's definitely going to be an awards contender. Set in Hollywood at the transition of the silent film era to the talkies. It has Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, Samara Weaving, Tobey Maguire's back, not just in some other movie, but he is doing movies again, because really he hasn't acted in like 6 or 7 years. So, and there's a lot of other names on there as well, but I'm really excited about it. Kind of reminds me, based off the premise, of The Artist, or maybe even like Singing in the Rain to a degree, but we'll see exactly where they take it. You know, a lot of films have done the transition of silent to talkies, but I'm definitely excited to see Chazelle's take on it.
This is going to be another big year of big directors having some new entries in their filmography.
Oh yeah.
I'm sitting here just being like, so when's Scorsese's movie come out?
Yep, that's on my anticipated list as well. Killers
of the Flower Moon.
Killers of the Flower Moon, that's it.
Scorsese does a Western.
Yes.
With a lot of people in it.
I bet there will be gangster stuff in it.
Wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be shocked.
And there has to be some kind of religious undertones to it, as I've gotten through so many Scorsese movies at this point on my other show. But Damien Chazelle's great, and that's a really impressive 3 feature films at this point. And
to start your career, that's literally, I mean, I'm sure if I took the time to think of some in that league, I'm sure I could, but I can't think of hardly any directors that started out bang, bang, bang like that. Just a handful at best, you know.
There we go. Now, it's so interesting talking to film fans, and because all we get are sequels and remakes and adaptations. But Heath, what's a film that you really do feel like you wish would get remade?
So I will be the pretentious snob in this one. I don't want any remakes. I don't like remakes. And that's not to say remakes can't work. Like, my favorite film from last year, 2021, as you know, Shane, I'm sure you saw my list, was West Side Story. I thought West Side Story was amazing. Is easily my favorite film, and I loved it. I love the original. I think this one's even better. But that doesn't mean I wanted it. I didn't need it. Like, now that they made it and I saw it, and I'm happy it's here because it's incredible, but it's certainly not something I was asking for. I never asked for remakes. I don't think they're necessary. If your original film was great, let the original film stand. If your original film sucked, I really don't want to see a second shot at it. Like, there's no other way to say it. What I do to kind of like question one here, to try to at least give you some kind of an answer, what I do like is reimaginings. Now, a reimagining is different than a remake. A remake is, not directly, but in concept, you're kind of doing shot for shot, script for script, dialogue for dialogue. You're doing roughly 90% of the same story that you've already seen before, with maybe a minor flair here or there. A reimagining is you're taking a film and you're telling the same basic story, but you're telling it in an entirely unconventional new way. And I think that is where you can get into exciting territory. Something that recently came out, you can catch it on Apple TV Plus, is The Tragedy of Macbeth. Now, if you're a fan of Shakespeare, some are, some aren't. I happen to be, but I understand that some aren't. His dialogue and dialect of Old English can be hard to swallow, hard to translate for some, and I get that. But I have always been an advocate of, I really think everyone is a fan of Shakespeare if they understand Shakespeare. And what I mean by that is, you may not care for the original dialogue, but I guarantee you like The Lion King, and that's Hamlet. You probably like 10 Things I Hate About You, and that's The Taming of the Shrew. You know, so I would love to see a contemporary reimagining of Macbeth. I think Macbeth is one of the classic tales. the lust for power and how absolute power corrupts absolutely. But simultaneously, I personally find Macbeth to be one of the most boring Shakespeare plays ever written. It's incredibly important, it's meaningful, but it is a slog to sit through. And I would love to see even like a Scorsese, if you set this in like a contemporary setting, or maybe back a couple of decades in New York, and like made it a gangster thing where like rival houses are competing to be the best crime houses of New York, and the leader of one house, essentially like a Godfather like setting. Okay, the top Don, so one of the house leaders goes and takes them out so they could become top Don, and like it's very easy, and you can see how it would be easily translatable to that kind of contemporary setting, and it would be so much more relatable. I think it could be so much more engaging. I think you could get so much more mileage out of it, especially if you put modern vocabulary into it. So that's what I would like to see. I enjoy reimaginings. I like seeing other interpretations of a vision. I don't necessarily need to see the same vision just duplicated.
And that's fair. And it's interesting because on my movie club that I do, we're going to be watching Throne of Blood this month, which is a reimagining of Macbeth, except with samurai. And I'm excited. And that's the thing. You can find that core story and do something unique and different with it.
Absolutely.
Now, my first time having everybody on, I've been asking, what's your earliest memory of going to the movies? And this time, I thought it'd be nice to think about, time when we would regularly go to the movies and not try to figure out when you're going to go next. And what is that fondest memory that you have of going to the movies?
It'd be very easy to say some of the more modern fan servicey films, Spider-Man No Way Home, Avengers Endgame. Those are up there in terms of experience, but those are in terms of experience. In terms of memory, I will harken back to like high school and college, and seeing films with my high school and college friends when we had not a care in the world, didn't understand adult responsibilities, and you could really just get wrapped in the stupidity of a moment. And in that vein, we would go and see dumber movies. I have never had so much fun. And I'm going to give you two movies. One, the original Alien vs. Predator. I know this is a bad movie. I don't care. This movie holds the record for me for most time seeing a film in theater. I saw AVP 5 times in the movie theater. I really shouldn't have, but it was just one of those things. My group of friends, we loved the Alien movies. We loved the Predator movies. We played back in the time, there was an Alien versus Predator game on the computer, and it was awesome. And we read the books. So like we were excited about this movie, and we went to go see it at midnight, opening night, like 8 of us. And it was bad, but we were so excited that we had beer goggles for it. We just didn't care. It was just, look, there's an alien doing this, and the Predator's doing that. Like it was just so fun to see it come to life that we didn't care how bad it was. And then subsequently after that, we would go back and see it again to laugh at how bad it was. Like, oh my God, look what they did to my boy. But it's so funny that we couldn't help but to enjoy it. And the other one, and this is truly the fondest of memories, and that's Snakes on a Plane. I cannot express in words. If you were in college at the time and you saw it, you guys don't know. When this movie came out and they started doing trailers, nowadays we would call it memes, but that term didn't exist then. But that's what we would call it. We memed the crap out of the snakes in the plane on the plane trailer. It was ridiculous. It was absurd. They added the Samuel L. Jackson, I've had it with these mother effing snakes on this mother effing plane. That came later when the movie and the studio, the directors, they started to see the reaction from the audience after trailers had been released. Like they realized, oh, we're becoming a living joke. Let's lean into it. They went back and added scenes. They added that Samuel L. Jackson cut so he could do that line. And I'm not kidding. When I went to the movie theater, I saw it at midnight with a whole bunch of college guys. There were people with inflatable snakes are like stuffed python, like stuffed animals, and they were throwing them around the movie theater. Like we barely watched the movie. It was a party. People brought beach balls. We were hitting beach balls, or like, and I'm not even kidding. From the moment we saw the very first snake on the plane, for the next easily 10, 15 minutes, the entire theater was hissing. You couldn't hear shit. Nothing was. I had to go back years later and rewatch the movie to actually find out what I missed, because it was just, imagine, again, pre-pandemic land. There's hundreds of people just go as loud as they could. It was the most raucous, ridiculous experience I've ever had in a movie theater. I will never forget it in my life. It was absolutely hilarious, and for that reason, I still love this movie. It's a bad movie, but I will rewatch Snakes on a Plane at almost any time because it immediately jolts me back to that era, and I can see people throwing around snakes. I can hear people hissing. I can hear, like, you thought there was people applauding for Captain picking up Thor's hammer. You have no idea. When Sam did the mother effing snakes line, this place erupted. A literal standing ovation. It was gold. So that's my chef's kiss movie theater moment, movie theater memory.
Oh, it reminds me of people going to see The Room and throwing spoons all over the place. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Yeah. I know the hardest I ever laughed at a movie was when I took my brother to go see This Is the End.
Yeah.
For his birthday. I thought my brother was gonna piss himself. That was
a good one.
So hard. Oh, those are the fun times.
Yeah.
When you're just having a blast at the movies. Now, what is a film that really exceeded your expectations?
For me, this can only come with a film that I almost didn't know existed in the first place, or heard virtually nothing about. Because even if it's one of the major blockbusters, like, I have a certain level of expectation going into it that I kind of check myself based off of fan service or internet rumors or whatever, that I'm virtually never like, I'll be happy. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm happy with Avengers Endgame, but I wasn't like, it's not like, oh, it blew me away. It still gave me everything I wanted, but like, so to keep it in context, the only thing that really like can ever surprise me to that degree that I would say exceeded my expectations is something that I virtually didn't know existed in the first place. So I had no expectations to begin with. And the most recent one I thought of was The Kid Detective. The Kid Detective is a movie that came out, for those unaware, it, I think, got its major release during the pandemic. In 2021. It stars Adam Brody, and it is a detective whodunit / noir / comedy, set in the modern era. It stars Adam Brody as a detective who, when he was a kid, he solved mysteries in his town, and like, people would pay him in quarters, and he was like 12 years old, and it's a cute and adorable thing. But then he grew up to be an adult, and he still tries to do that for a living, and he's an alcoholic and a druggie, and everyone in the town is like, what are you doing with your life, you complete failure? It's this very dry, macabre kind of humor. It's very dry, so know that going into it. But I loved it. I thought it was incredible. It blew me away. And for the record, there's a really good mystery to it. If you do like whodunit mysteries, this one's really satisfying. There's a murder mystery element to it, and even more depth than just that. There's a lot to it. It's a lot of fun. I would highly recommend it. Even when I'm looking at it right now on Letterboxd, it has a 3.7 out of 5, which is a pretty good score. And it's only 99 minutes long, counting credits. I mean, so it's really like an hour and a half. It's a breeze to get through. That was the last one that really knocked my socks off. I saw it at the beginning of last year, 2020. I think I've watched it 4 times since then. It's great.
Yeah, I remember when that started popping up and hearing a lot of great things on the internet about it. I'm like, where is this movie? And I remember getting a chance to see it when it came out in VOD.
Yep, that's when I saw it.
And by the end, got dark. And I'm like,
oh really dark. Yeah.
And
but like, still light enough to digest for almost any audience. Like that sounds weird to say, but the concept of what happens to some of these characters in a vacuum is dark, but the execution in the way the movie presents that information still comes off as unserious or lighthearted enough that you can take it in a comedic aspect.
It's basically like if Jessica Jones was a kid detective, was a very successful kid detective, and then turned into what she became.
Yep.
And had to try to figure something out.
Yep.
Definitely would recommend. So if you all out there haven't seen it, go check out the kid.
Go see the Kid Detective. It is terrific.
Now, I'm not sure if you're a fan of like reading and stuff like that, but I always like to think about, because like I know growing up, I read tons of books, and I've read tons of books because they were movies, or read tons of books because I heard they were going to become a movie. But what's a written work, Heath, that you would love to see be turned into a film?
So I am very much like you, where sometimes I'll go read something if I know they're going to make a movie out of it, or the reverse of that. A lot of things I read back in the day, they end up making movies out of. So I actually don't have. I'm not a big reader, at least not anymore. I used to be when I was younger, but I don't have many books that I've read that haven't already been made into movies. So I'm going to stretch this slightly. Written work. There was at least a script or something written for it, but it is a video game, and that's BioShock. I think BioShock is one of the greatest stories ever told in any medium ever, period. End of statement. It is my favorite video game, the original one. It is my favorite franchise of video games, the entire trilogy. I hope they make more of them someday. And for many years now, it's been rumored that they were going to make a BioShock movie. It's never come to fruition. Frankly, I'm at the point now where I don't think it ever will. Even if they did do it, I don't know if they could do it justice. But without spoiling anything, even though it's the original one is now, oh my gosh, 15 years old. So just know that it is a lot of the tropes and things you see in narrative story formations in video games today come from BioShock. It was a multiple game of the year winner for a reason, and it's literally set the tone for how video games are produced to this day. A lot of concepts were introduced in it, like you can make your own choices throughout the game, and that will affect the ending of the game. That will change how things play out. That will change your choices. There's, very simply put, there is a twist that you will never see coming. It is entirely off the wall, but makes perfect sense. And it transforms your entire interpretation of the entire game and instantly makes you want to replay the game. And what's really cool is the twist doesn't come right at the end. The twist comes 2/3 of the way through the game. You still have 1/3 of the game to go through with this new information that's completely altered the landscape of the entire game. It's a terrific, it's a survival horror game. If, for those who are unfamiliar with the genre, there are action adventure elements to it. It's a shooter, but it's primarily a survival horror. There are horror parts of this. I think it would make, and especially in the era we are in now of elevated horror with films like Hereditary or Get Out or The Babadook, if this were to be adapted, this is the time to do it. There's precedent for these kinds of dark, cerebral, think piece horror films out there now that I think this could be really accepted. But again, someone would have to do it right, and it would not be cheap either if you wanted to do it right. I'm talking 150, maybe $200 million budget. So it's no small investment. I don't know if any studio would be willing to do it, but man, if someone was willing to do it and could do it the right way, BioShock would turn a lot of heads.
You know, finally getting something Halo related, which is shocking to me that it actually got made. So you never know.
You never know.
You know, got a second try at Resident Evil. Still didn't hit it. I'm not very confident Uncharted coming out.
Oh, I know that we have some friends even at SiftPop that consider it like their most anticipated of the year, and I'm just like, you must be watching a different movie trailer than I'm watching. And I liked the games. I will be seeing the movie. I hope it's good, but my God, does this look terrible? The acting looks terrible. The production design looks terrible. The script that they're plotting out based off of the trailer and the leaked narrative, like synopsises, like it just not impressed. And the release date doesn't give me any comfort either. So
Sully doesn't have friends.
Speaking as his one friend. Anyway,
it's got to have one. That's a lie. You just said it.
The one, I think that now that we're on this, the thing that Hollywood, stop doing this with your trailers. Do not give me a high anxiety moment in your trailer from the movie and then cut to black like your trailer's going to end, and then give me the very next preceding scene from that scene, same anxiety moment, completely ruining the tension that I would have felt if I'd seen the movie. If you've seen the trailer, you know what I'm talking about. He's jumping cargo net to cargo net, cargo box to cargo box. Will he make it on the plane? And then we just see what's going to happen anyway. Why? And now, for people who've seen the game, you already have it a gist. But for those who haven't played the game or don't know, like, why? Why would you, that was not necessary. Cut to black, say Uncharted, go in. Why? Why would you? Stop it, Hollywood. Stop it, Sony.
Still, number one video game movie of 2022, Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Hedgehog 2, right? I just want to see zany Jim Carrey some more. I'm all here for it.
Where are my manners? But anyway, now speaking of
trailers,
nice segue.
Yeah.
So, what is your favorite movie trailer?
I actually think there's a real art to movie trailers, and there are some that are just absolutely exquisite that will have me beside myself with excitement. And I think the number one thing that Hollywood needs to relearn, because at one point they knew this, is your movie trailer is best when you don't show me anything that actually happens in the movie in terms of narrative, plot structure, and you just establish tone, establish an atmosphere, so that I have an understanding for what I'm feeling or what I'm supposed to feel going into the experience. There has never been a movie that I have felt this more than the trailer for The Social Network. For those who have not seen it, the original trailer for The Social Network was, nowadays it's come a bit cliche when people remake, especially rock or alternative rock. They take those songs and then they slow them down, put them to like a more melodic piano. Maybe it's a woman doing the voiceover singing instead of like a male voice that did the original. And that kind of carries over the trailer. At the time, 12, 13 years ago, this was innovative. But they took Creep by Radiohead and they did it as a choir. And the trailer opens up with nothing about the movie. It's literally just showing screenshots from Facebook, the website. And it's just showing people hovering over with an icon, with a mouse clicker, hovering over the like button or going to people's photos. And all that's playing is the song Creep by Radiohead. And you literally don't even know what's going on. And then it slowly builds. The song gets more and more intense in the background. It gets more eerie and dissonant in its tone. And then we start to get clips from the film out of context. You don't know the order of anything. All you know is something bad has really happened. You get a lot of the stuff, especially Andrew Garfield, Man of the Year 2021, running in at the end of the movie and just yelling, "Mark!" like really loud, getting ready to slam his laptop into a million pieces. And then it just like comes up on the screen. You don't make a million friends without making a few enemies, like The Social Network, Aaron Sorkin, David Fincher. And then I'm just like, yep, I'm in. You're so like, it really, it's hard to equivalent to the people that weren't around now, because a lot of people know that The Social Network is incredible. It almost won Best Picture at the Oscars. P.S. It should have. And it's an incredible film. People love it to this day. But at the time, people thought it was a joke. You're making a movie about Facebook, about that one website, especially back then when Facebook wasn't like a laughing stock that people hate nowadays. Like back then it was still more respected, but still like, it's just a website. Like, what are you doing? Like, people didn't understand it. And it leveled people. But yeah, that is my favorite trailer of all time. I think it's incredible. I still will go back maybe every 4 to 6 months, and I'll just go to YouTube, Social Network trailer, and I'll watch it again. And it gives me that jolt and those tingles, and it makes me want to go watch the movie instantly. It's incredible.
I'm trying to think. I don't know if I saw the trailer.
Oh, it's great.
Because like at that point, 2010, right?
It came out in 2010, yeah.
Because like that was my transition from high school to college, and I still wasn't seeing a whole lot of movies that weren't just like, you know, superhero movies and Toy Story and stuff like that in a theater. So, but I can't even imagine being in that situation, watching that trailer for the first time. I'm like, they're making a Facebook movie.
Yeah, and that's what it was. People were like, "What? I don't understand. This doesn't make sense." It was incomprehensible. And then this trailer came out, and I really can't express it enough. Just go search the Social Network trailer on YouTube. You'll find it, and you'll thank me later. You're welcome.
There you go. And then a whole entire decade full of slow, creepy versions of popular music.
Yeah, you could also simultaneously, if you really hate Facebook, you can blame them in this trailer for literally ruining. And now it's not even just in trailers anymore. It's seeping into the movies. Black Widow did this just last year with Nirvana.
Well, you know what?
Jungle Cruise did this with Metallica to open the movie. It's so weird.
You know what? Trailer I do remember that was a Fincher trailer was Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah.
And oh my god, Trent Reznor's version of having like the immigrant song, that was crazy. And that opening credit sequence too was just like, wait, Daniel Craig's Bond, is this a Bond movie? This is a really creepy Bond movie. Now, speaking of music, we're just rolling now.
Sure.
What's your favorite use of an actual song in the movie?
All right. So I'm gonna cheat a little bit and just say, knowing what the next question is as well. I love songs in music, in film score in music, to the point that I have a playlist on Spotify of my favorite film songs and my favorite film scores ever. My favorite film songs playlist is 87 songs long. It goes for over 5 hours. My favorite film scores goes for 109 songs, and it's over 7 hours. So this is like my jam. With that said, it is impossible for me to give you just one. I'm sorry, I can't do it. I will give you a few, and I'll try to do it briefly, and I'll try to explain why I like them. In terms of just song, it might have to be "Lose Yourself" by Eminem for 8 Mile. By the time you get to the end of the movie, and it's not the song that plays at the end of the movie in terms of his actual rap battle that he's having with Falcon, Captain America. It's I think it's the walk-off song when he leaves and it cuts to the credits. It's the credit song, but he won Best Original Song for that at the Oscars, and that song still rocks. In fact, to this day, I'm pretty sure that's Eminem's most successful song he literally has ever made, selling more records than any other song out there. So that's probably like my classic go-to. In terms of other songs that I think work really well for the movie, if I was to give you something recent, I would say Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. Edgar's Prayer is hilarious. I would love for that to be nominated for Best Original Song at the Oscars. I know it won't happen, which is a travesty because it should be nominated. It is incredibly hilarious and it fits the tone of the movie perfectly. In terms of something that also sets up tone to establish how a movie's going to feel, going back a few years with Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping. I love the Lonely Island guys, and to open the movie with I'm So Humble, first of all, that beat is catchy as heck, and that will get stuck in your ear for a week plus, and you'll love every second of it. But second of all, it's a hilarious song, especially when Mariah Carey does a dub over saying, like, I relate to that song so much because, you know, I'm so humble. It's just, and Adam Levine as a hologram getting his ass smacked. Like, it's perfect. That's great. If you want to see some really ridiculous comedy, Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping, and I'm So Humble is the name of the song. I'm also a big musical person. My favorite musical of all time, and this is going to be more of a classic, is White Christmas. I watch it at minimum every year with my family, if not multiple times. And by the time you get to the last White Christmas song, it literally brings a tear to my eye. Uh, I can be quite the Grinch these days around the holiday season. I worked as a store manager at GameStop and was part of the retail world for far too long, almost a decade, and it has really soured my disposition towards the season, towards the holiday, and how people treat other people. But with that said, when I watch that movie, when I hear that song, it gets me, and it's a beautiful thing. But another one, last one that I'll mention is in terms of also just a song that works for the movie perfectly, because you're going to hear it a million times in the movie, and that's That Thing You Do. The movie That Thing You Do, the song is called That Thing You Do. It's an amazing film from the 90s. It was actually also nominated for Best Original Song. And it's about a band that is in the 60s, and kind of like what if America had their version of the Beatles that got really famous. The local small town became big rock stars. And it doesn't quite end maybe the way you expect, but it's a really great movie. It's hilarious with Tom Hanks as the director. And it's a good time. So those are some of my absolute favorites.
So two thoughts. One, speaking of trailers, when that Barb and Star trailer hit, like before the pandemic, I'm like, what is this movie?
Yeah.
And I need to see this right now.
Yeah. That's another movie I've also seen like 4 or 5 times since that came out last year. It's incredible. It's so funny.
And just the opening with the little kid singing on his bike sold me. I'm like, I need to see this movie. This looks hilarious. And then the whole.
Yeah. I think what got it for like there are little parts that at least nowadays I laugh at it the whole way through, but like it takes you a while the first time to like really understand where they're going with humor. And it is, for those who don't know, Barb and Star is absurdist humor. It is the definition of quote unquote stupid humor. It is trying to be and succeeds at being as dumb as possible. And you will laugh at how dumb it is. That's what makes it enjoyable. I lost it when she started at the beginning in her secret lair making her suicide soda and did the spritz of iced tea. Like I was like, all right, I'm in this movie. Take me wherever you want to take me. This is.
Oh, and it takes you some places.
Oh, it really does.
That was
it's
so
not
unexpected.
Scared. Yeah.
And honestly, one of my biggest movies to exceed my expectations was because I wasn't even a huge Lonely Island fan when I watched Pop Star for the first time.
That movie is amazing.
Sitting somewhere down there. I love that movie, and I listened to the Bin Laden song at least.
That movie, that song is great.
When he brings up President Obama, boy,
it's just the whole thing is absolutely incredible. I highly recommend. Literally all the movies I just mentioned for all those songs are great movies, even separate from the songs, but those songs are great too.
Donkey Roll.
Yeah. I can't believe they got so many cameos for that. That's what makes the movie work. Is like they actually got all these real musicians, real artists to buy into it. If they didn't do that, that movie straight doesn't work. But they make it like seeing Ringo Starr and being like, oh yeah, they did it. They really did. I'm like, oh my God.
Because like, they're and like this was disappointing because like I heard Andy Samberg talking about how the marketing just made it seem like a Bieber spoof.
Yeah.
And he hated that because like realistically, it's much more like what if the Beastie Boys kind of broke up kind of thing. At least like that's the vibe that I got. And if one of them tried to be a solo star.
Beastie Boys are not quite like, I also took it as a riff on like NSYNC, although not quite the same style of music, but just the concept of, okay, you're most the lead, the most charismatic person, branching off. And then of course, JT is a cameo in the movie itself. But yeah, just the idea of a group that someone branches off to do their own thing. You can even take that as like Destiny's Child and Beyonce doing. Like it happens all the time in the music industry.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny. So funny. And the music's great. The music is genuinely great.
Yep. I'll take Michael Bolton in a Lonely
Oh,
Island song anytime.
fantastic.
I listen
That's
to
the
Jack
best.
Sparrow way too much on a
That's the
regular.
best Michael Bolton is in Lonely Island.
Agreed.
Yep.
Agreed. Now, you already alluded to what the next question was. Now, shifting gears to scores. So, what are some of your favorites?
Yeah, and again, this is an incredibly hard question for me. I'll try my best to limit myself. Um, one of my absolute favorites, ever since I first saw the movie, is the Hello Zep theme from Saw. Um, I think the first Saw is a genuinely good movie. After that, it goes downhill really quick. But that theme, when that first came in, is catchy as hell. And pairing it with the reveal, the twist of the movie, and then subsequently every sequel being tied thematically to that theme and to what's transpiring, it's always worked so good. It's one of the best blending of film with the score, not just a cool score. But the Hello Zep theme is fantastic. I also really like the cornfield chase, which is the theme from Interstellar. The dun 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 dun. I literally have many nights just found a 10-hour loop of that and put it on YouTube and just fallen asleep to that. It's beautiful and it's amazing. I love it. Some of the classics, of course, Jurassic Park is up there. You gotta love the Howard Shore score from Lord of the Rings. John Williams is really just the man, also with things like Harry Potter or Indiana Jones. Lastly, this is probably my favorite one, sticking with John Williams, is Hook. Hook is a very special film to me. I absolutely love Hook. I understand some people really don't like it. I also understand a lot of people like myself really love it. A lot of that just kind of depends on how old you are, I think, is a big part of that. But for those who don't know, and a lot of people actually don't know this, Hook was originally supposed to be a musical. And when you think about the movie, you can still see it because they actually left some of the songs in. You don't even realize it. So the movie opens. They're going to a school play to see little Maggie play Wendy in the school play of Peter Pan, and it shows the little Lost Boy kids singing a song that John Williams wrote for the movie. Or then later they go and little Maggie is singing a song at the docks at night while stuck in the pirate village, which also was nominated for Best Original Song. Or when they are training Peter Pan to become Peter Pan again and try to get back into shape, the Lost Boys sing a song like "Pick 'em Up, Move 'em on Down" and stuff like that. And they left that in the. So there's like 3 songs still in the movie randomly from when this was a musical, but apparently there's a lot more, which is why I think it's John Williams' best theme ever, because he wrote so many different things. He has more themes in Hook than in any other movie he's ever done, because he wrote themes also for all these songs, and he wrote lyrics for all of them. Just they were all taken out of the movie, but they still used the musical score from those songs throughout the whole movie. So there's the remembering childhood theme. There's the going to Neverland theme. The first flight theme. The war theme. There's all this stuff. There's a theme for Hook. There's a theme for Peter. There's a theme for Tinkerbell. There's a theme for Rufio. And Rufio. It is, yeah. But I can literally listen to the Hook soundtrack, the Hook original score soundtrack, like on loop. It's just incredible. It's some of the best stuff ever put to film. Whether you like the movie or not, that score is incredible.
Yeah, I have a special place for Hook because I watched that a lot.
Yep,
as a kid,
a lot,
to the point where like my uncle would come over, and if it was on, he'd be like Rufio.
Yeah.
And
I dressed up as Rufio for Halloween one year. It was great.
You know, John Williams is John Williams, and like you bring
and again, you could just keep going. You could do Star Wars or so many more.
Even some of like I remember, watching The Post. And during the opening credits sequence, just being like
solid.
I'm like, that's some John Williams right there.
Also, one of his underrated ones that isn't traditional John Williams sounding, but it's still John Williams, still very good, is Catch Me If You Can, especially the opening credit sequence, where he's doing this like weird jazz clarinet theme is which is like battling with a jazz flute. It's
Mhm.
super good. It's incredible.
And I am a huge fan of the Interstellar score. Like I
Yep,
listen to that all the time.
terrific. Some of
And
Hans Zimmer's best work ever.
yeah, give Hans Zimmer some organs. That's my jam.
Yep.
Pirates.
Well, and actually, I think Hans Zimmer is better when he is not allowed to be bombastic. When he has to take his time to be more melodic, because when he's more bombastic, that's when you get stuff with like Pirates. Which, don't get me wrong, Pirates is fun,
Mhm.
but it's not very original. In fact, and a lot of people already know this, but if you go and listen to the original theme from Gladiator, which is also Hans Zimmer, which was done 4 years earlier, it's nearly identical. Like he
Yeah, the Battle of
blatantly,
Carthage theme.
he
It's just
blatantly copies himself. I don't know why, but I mean, other than a few timpani drums and a couple other minor changes, I mean, it's the same thing. So it's
yeah. For me specifically, from Dead Man's Chest, the
yeah.
Kraken score,
The Kraken score is great.
and Davy Jones's score.
Well, Davy Jones, and again, that's actually
Mhm.
one of my favorite ones from Pirates. And again, that's when he's softer, more melodic, because he's doing the music key box kind of
Yep.
theme, the clicking of the mechanical gears and all that. And that one's way more beautiful and serene than any of the other Pirates stuff. And again, I say it so blasé, but the other Pirate stuff is great too. But that's easily the most identifiable and I think the best one. So
Yeah.
and then
And
shout out lastly to it's over there, Back to the Future. So
there you go. Now, my last question for you, Heath, is what's the one thing you wish that movies would stop doing?
I'm gonna give you two. I keep cheating all night. I apologize, but I don't apologize because I have two qualms with Hollywood right now. One, do not put black and white in your movie if there's not a narrative or thematic emotional purpose for black and white. If you want to have your movie in black and white because it fits the structure of the film and it will add something, by all means do it. If you are doing it because you just want to do it, because you think it will be more artsy, you are pretentious and you are not adding to your film, you are subtracting to it from it. 2020 had a lot of films in black and white. 2021 had even more films in black and white. And it is starting to piss me off, especially because most of these don't have purpose. Again, speaking recently, Tragedy of Macbeth, I think that looks beautiful in black and white. I think the cinematography is gorgeous. And I think it works for the play and the nature of this being about something that took place almost 400 years ago. And it works. It works really well. But then you also have a movie like Come On, Come On, which is a good movie that has no value whatsoever in being black and white. In fact, to me, it's a detractor. There are many scenes where I was like, oh my gosh, this emotional moment could be so much more well-rounded, so much more vibrant, and so much easier to embrace as an audience if we had color and we could see the breakdown in someone's face a little bit better. And there's no reason for it. There's nothing. It's not that it was reminiscing on something that was nostalgic. It wasn't a period piece taking place later in time to make up for it. You know, again, something like Belfast. Belfast took place during the Troubles in Northern Ireland, which took place decades ago. Like, I get it. And especially because it's through the kid's eyes, he's looking at it as though he's looking through an old television set. He's looking at it through his memory. But even then, they have moments in color when they're depicting art and life, which is supposed to be the counterpoint to all the problems. Like, there's purpose to that. Yeah. But like something like Come On, Come On is just why? Or like Malcolm and Marie, why? There's no reason for this. Stop doing it. Number two, I know that. Yeah, that's probably one of the reasons. But
Clerks.
But yeah, but again, Clerks is different. I'll give it a pass because that is a little independent at the time. Kevin Smith trying to make his own, but Malcolm and Marie is being funded by Netflix. What are you doing? You have the money. And the other one is ironically, because we were talking about Scream and legacy sequels off camera earlier before we started this. But the requel or the legacy sequel, whatever you want to call it, I am so sick to death of this already. Essentially, the concept is it's a sequel to a franchise film that either does or does not still take place in the exact timeline as where it's presented, or maybe an alternate timeline, but it's usually based off of bringing back legacy characters to be minimal side roles while establishing new characters and using the lore from legacy movies to infuse it with these new characters to try to put a twist on something that you already know while still relatively delivering the exact same story. I'm tired of this. I thought it was brilliant in Scream 2022 or Scream 5 or 5 Cream, whatever you want to call it. And I thought it was great, but that's because they are satirizing it. They're a meta franchise. That's what they do. They are making fun of it. But the movies that are doing this in earnest, I am sick of it. I'm sick of it already. Really started with, I think some of the first couple ones would be Star Wars, The Force Awakens, and Jurassic World. Those came out about 5-7 years ago now. And it's been happening more and more since then. This year is recently with Halloween and Halloween Kills. Then Halloween came out a couple years ago. In fact, Halloween's done it twice. They've had Halloween just titled Halloween. It's I'm one of the ones that really frustrated me this year was Ghostbusters Afterlife. And I think the reason why it bothers me so much is because it's lazy. It is lazy screenwriting, and it's clearly there to take advantage of our nostalgic attachment. It is there to get cheap emotional investment without actually warranting the emotional investment that it gets, without warranting the emotional response because you didn't actually invest in the story. I think Ghostbusters Afterlife is the perfect thing with this, where I'm slightly spoiling it, but slightly not. I apologize. But it's the same movie. If you've seen Ghostbusters, it's the same movie. And when I say the same, I mean the same, down to the villain, down to the plot points, down to how the villain is brought back, down to the defeat of the villain. It's the same. It's the same movie. That movie almost came out 40 years ago. You've had almost 40 years to think of a new story, and you brought me the same story, which, by the way, you did virtually the same story, not down to Gozer and the dogs, but still the same basic plot beats when you tried to do Ghostbusters 5-7 years ago, when you did the gender swapped version of it, Ghostbusters 2016, that they later retitled Answer the Call because everyone hated it. I'm sick to death of this. I promise you, audiences would have flocked to Ghostbusters and loved a sequel that brought back the original cast with an original story. It was there. You could have done it. You've had 40 years to think of something new, and you didn't. You gave us the exact same story, and you baited the ghost of Harold Ramis in front of us just to make us weep and make us sad. And for a lot of people, it worked, and that pisses me off. That feels cheap, that feels hollow, and feels cash grabby when you could have given me something fresh and new while still having those characters. I still could have gotten excited about seeing the Ecto-1 vehicle. I still would have gotten excited when they first put on the proton packs and they first strapped it. Like, that would have naturally been there just based off the franchise nostalgia alone. Don't do the exact same movie. And I'm tired of this. And way too many franchises, way too many movies are doing it. There's no excuse for it. You want to do a sequel, do a sequel. You want to do a sequel with legacy characters, you can bring them back. That's fine too. But give me a new story. Please stop doing the same thing over and over.
Well, and this is
and that goes back to way earlier when I said I don't like remakes. So you can see it in my path. Like, I don't want a remake. I want something fresh.
Well, and this is very interesting because, like, specifically with the Ghostbusters movie, I was having a ball with it. Like, good first half of the movie.
Yeah,
it was its own movie.
Yeah, it was great.
And then they literally turned new characters into old characters.
Yes,
and completely ruined them, and just like, but
robbing them of their identity, robbing them of their character arcs entirely. Yeah, you just literally they literally cut them out of the script.
Well, and the worst part was, like, by the end of the movie, I'm like, the original three living Ghostbusters didn't even need to be in this movie.
No.
And they didn't help a whole lot, to be honest. And I think this has become such a big thing because of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for Star Wars, I don't think this trend would be happening so much.
Yeah.
And I love The Force Awakens. And I left that theater being so happy and getting to see some of the characters. And they baited all of us with Luke for like just tiny bit right at the end of the movie. But the thing is, what happens when you try to do something different?
Well, and again, and spoilers for those who don't know me, I love The Last Jedi. I think The Last Jedi is one of the best Star Wars movies ever made. Fight me. Come at me. I don't care. I think it is. And again, this speaks to me. I don't want the same thing over and over. I like things that challenge the norm. I want to see innovation. And I recognize that any franchise, regardless of what that franchise is, needs to be able to innovate or else it dies. That's what happens. People may not like to admit that, but that's what happens. And Rian Johnson telling us that light and dark don't matter, and there shouldn't be good and evil, and we should just be. Or my favorite line in the movie, let the past die, kill it if you have to, realizing that everything that you've loved is still worth loving and it's great, but we have to evolve. We have to be something better, or else we're literally going to be telling the same stories over and over, and people are going to get sick of it. And then so many people didn't like that message, as you just alluded. And you know what they did? They over course corrected. They swung the wheel back so hard with Rise of Skywalker that people hated it. People like myself really hated it because I loved The Last Jedi and everything that it set up. And I thought we were going to get something truly unique and special. I still, for the love of God, wanted Ben Solo to be the ultimate enemy. That would have been incredible. That would have been a huge subversion of, no, some people can't change. Some people really are the darkness, and you have to confront them. And not everyone's Darth Vader. And you can just turn them. It's fine. I wanted that. And then even the people that were happy with The Force Awakens and hated The Last Jedi, they hated The Rise of Skywalker too, for the most part, because they're like, this is cheesy. This is cheap. You just brought back the Emperor because how? Why? You don't even bother to explain it. You just say, nope, he's here. The dead speak. And it's terrible. And you're exactly right. The Force Awakens is responsible for this recent trend. And I wouldn't say I love The Force Awakens. I like it. I think it does enough, especially because that was one of the few ones that gave Finn a decent story, and who was one of the true great new characters they made. But it needs to stop. Hollywood, you're better than this. You can bring back legacy characters, but don't just do the same story. Do something new, and either people will be on board for it, which the most will. Again, you can look at online ratings on Letterboxd or IMDb. Most people like The Last Jedi way more than they like Rise of Skywalker, or they won't be on board with it, and in which case, tough. Leave them. You can keep expanding, and either you've lost some of those fans, but I promise you'll still get millions more. It'll be okay. Take the leap. Be aggressive.
Yeah, honestly,
be risk takers.
I love The Last Jedi. My biggest gripes with it have nothing to do with my childhood or anything that I hold tight to it. Just some of the things where I'm like, didn't really find Canto Bight that interesting. And, that had nothing to do with the fact that it was trying to do something different. And then,
even
Rise of Skywalker.
Well, and here's the thing, and people like to point to Canto Bight. Even myself, I agree. I don't think the Canto Bight scenes were that interesting, but they're like, it wasn't necessary. Nothing ever happened from it. They ended up not using that anyway. And I'm like, no, but that was the point. Maybe the scenes could have been more interesting. The chase with those horse creatures or whatever, or the fight in the casino. Sure, that could have been filmed better. But like the whole point was sometimes you try things and you fail. That was a reoccurring theme through the whole movie. Did you not pick up on that? Like, it's mentioned time and time again. Sometimes you just make the wrong choice and you have to live with those consequences. That happened to every character throughout that movie. I loved that they failed at the Canto Bight stuff and they were not able to get the master code breaker to help them. That was because pretty much every other Star Wars movie is like, oh, whatever the rebellion tries, even though there's 12 of us, hey, guess what? We win. We destroyed the Death Star and the Empire.
Magically worked.
Exactly. So, I thought that was refreshing. But again, that's exactly what you're saying is exactly right. Like the actual story beats and the structure and the themes in The Last Jedi are so solid that even if there's individual scenes that I maybe don't like, it's fine. And it certainly has nothing to do with my fandom and my childhood. And again, for the record, for those who like this Last Jedi stan, my favorite is still Empire, and my second favorite is still the original OG Star Wars. Like, I like the classics. Like, those are the ones that innovated are the best.
Less Ewoks, probably the better.
Yeah.
But they're cute. But anyway, so I always like to wrap up this show by having my guest ask me a question. So Heath, what question would you like to ask the Wasteland Reviewer?
You stumped me. So what is your most anticipated film of 2022? What are you most excited about?
So there's probably different answers before, and this might be recency bias, but ever since that Northman trailer came out, avenge you, father.
Yeah.
Protect your mother. You feel near.
Oh, for those, real quick, going back, for those who don't know, that's Hamlet again. This is Shakespeare. But sure, people don't like Shakespeare. Keep going. Yes, the Northman trailer looks so sick.
Oh, and it was interesting because I just watched this new 3-hour and 15-minute documentary about folk horror movies. That's coming out on Shudder. I got a screener for it, and Robert Eggers was in it.
Oh, cool.
Because like obviously he cares a lot about folk horror. And like you can see that like this is deeply rooted in folklore and stuff like that. This is a big one for me that I'm super excited. And honestly, the more and more films that I watch of Scorsese on my endless ride through Scorsese, I just keep getting more and more excited for Killers of the Flower Moon. And I'm just like, I can't wait to see another one.
I think that was my number 5 of the year. Excited for it. I gotta find it now.
And of course, I have my the Marvel movies that I'm excited about. I'm a big Ragnarok fan, big Taika Waititi fan.
Taika's great.
Super excited about Thor: Love and Thunder, and especially after Spider-Man and after that trailer dropped, Multiverse of Madness is looking pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things to be excited about. New Jordan Peele. Just
nope. And again, I don't know anything about it. I don't want to. I almost don't even want to see the trailer. I might pull a dicer and just because they've already got me. Like the poster, the name, Jordan Peele, I'm in.
Yeah, honestly, I only watch trailers now in the theater, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, that's actually one of the few, because I'm already there, and so I end up doing it. But yeah, I've actually started doing that in the last year or so, since the pandemic and things have started opening back up. I don't really go and search for things online. Like if I see it at the theater, okay, I see it. But I'm right there with you.
I was also super excited to have a year with both Mission Impossible and John Wick. That didn't play out necessarily because John Wick got pushed. But still getting some Mission Impossible, so I'm excited.
I'm excited. For those who are not up to date, I have friends that either hate Tom Cruise or they saw Mission Impossible 2, which is admittedly garbage. But I swear, people, please give Mission Impossible a chance. The first one is genuinely good to great. The second one is bad. Frankly, if you want to skip it, you can. Literally nothing from that movie ever carries over into a future movie. And then from 3 on, it is a gradual build from okay to good to great to literally some of the best action movies ever made, period, ever in the history of film. Mission Impossible 6 Fallout is, I would literally put it in the top 5 action movies of all time. It is incredible.
Oh, and there was a reason why I brought up John Wick and Mission Impossible in the same breath, because we're in a golden time for some action movies. So.
We really are. And a wide variety, too, where we got what I would say the Mission Impossibles, where that's the true center definitive kind of style of action, like in the classic sense. Mm-hmm. Then you've got more modern action with the aggressive brutality of a John Wick. But then you've got humorous action with the Marvel movies. We've got a wide range of different types of things going on.
There you go. But Heath, those are all my questions for you. And that's a wrap on another episode of Lost in the Wasteland. So Heath, thank you so much for coming on again.
Shane, thanks for having me.
Go check out Heath's letterbox and get a letterbox if you don't have one yet.
Yes.
Join the club. Join us. But anyway.
Don't make it sound so cultish.
Well, you know, social media, right?
Yeah.
This is a cool thing for fans of movies, and I appreciate it. I'm glad that we have it. So
yeah, absolutely.
But thank you again, and thank all of you out there for tuning in and always supporting your Wasteland Reviewer.